Hey everybody, this is Colin podcasting about real estate and welcome to show 41. My guest today is Jim Padilla, a fascinating guest who survived an unbelievably difficult childhood and adolescence before going on to earn millions of dollars as a successful entrepreneur and business coach. But when you hear his story, you think it's a miracle that he actually survived at all, and a miracle that he went on to become just a normal person living a normal life. Nowadays, he's an expert in sales and business launches, and he provides us with a ton of actionable tips on how to better build relationships with customers to improve sales. And so we had a pretty in-depth conversation that talked about a difficult childhood, being homeless as a teenager, and how being in constant danger during his early life led to the development of these incredible sales skills and just being an incredibly intuitive person who is extremely good at thinking about what other people are thinking and finding out what motivates people and what they want and how to make them feel safe. He's very good at all that stuff. And we talked about his transition, from all the hardship into being a business owner in his late 20s, his involvement in the subprime mortgage market in the run up to the Great Recession, his pivot afterwards to just teaching other people how to do business launches and how to do sales very, very successfully, and much more besides. So multiple golden nuggets in this conversation with a very impressive but still very humble guy, and I enjoyed speaking with him, and I think you're going to enjoy it too. So without further ado, guys, let's just head straight over and chat to Jim Padilla. Jim Padilla, how are you doing, sir? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Living the dream. We are moving at a million miles an hour and trying not to miss miss many things.
I hear you, buddy. I hear you. So listen, Jim, before we dig into your early days and your amazing journey, can you give us a quick intro regarding who you are and what you currently do for a living?
Yeah, well, my name's Jim Padilla. My wife and partner, Cindy, we have this crazy business called Gain the Edge. And
Mm-hmm.
mostly we are an outsourced sales company. People hire us to do sales for them, primarily service-based companies. We don't sell products and widgets and technology.
Okay.
And we run a lot of live events, which have now become a lot of virtual events. And
Sure.
so launches, conferences, challenges, et cetera. Anytime it can be a high duration of sales in a short period of time, that's where we chime in. And we're actually getting ready to kick one off in about an hour from this very
Yeah.
location.
Busy man, and that's a fantastic service you're offering there. More people need to improve their sales skills. I've mentioned that in many episodes of the
Yeah.
show. And look, normally I start with an easy question, just asking people about where they grew up. But I understand in your case, Jim, that was a very tough part of your life. If it's okay, can you tell us a bit about it and how it led you to where you are?
Sure. Well, basically, I was born to a couple of teenage parents in
Mm-hmm.
the '60s. They met in an orphanage in the Bronx in the '60s. The
Wow.
rulers, the nuns, the whole nine, and so they didn't have a whole lot of parental guidance. They had me as 16 and 17-year-olds. My father took off immediately. My
Right.
mother responded to a very challenging situation with fear and anger and rage, and I became
Yeah.
the brunt of a lot of that.
Oof.
So I had a pretty abusive, first several years. Ended up in foster care at 13, on the streets
Wow.
at 16, and in jail by 19.
My
And
goodness.
essentially, everything I really needed to learn about sales and influence, I learned in that time frame, because
Yeah.
I spent most of every waking minute trying to make sure that I could bend the environment around me in my favor,
Mm-hmm.
primarily so that nobody would see me as a threat, and that was how I
Mm-hmm.
stayed alive. And when there's a lot more on the line if somebody buys or if they don't, like your life potentially.
Yeah.
So little did I know that 20 years later, I'd be making millions of dollars teaching other people how to bend other people's, the environment around them so that it bends to your favor, so that
Mm-hmm.
people don't see you as a threat and want to hear what you have and be able to buy your services.
Wow, that's incredible. That's, I mean, what a credit to you that you've emerged from that as a successful business owner. That's amazing.
Definitely a lot of God in that, because not a lot no, my upbringing says I should be where I am now, having been able to generate a $250 million sales for our clients and have an amazing marriage, an amazing family, amazing business. I should be in jail or dead or who knows what else.
And I'd love, can you mentioned something fascinating. Can you give me an example of, you know, like you said, bending your environment so that you weren't perceived as a threat when you were a teenager? Can you give us an example of that where you had to use, your sales skills to, take care of yourself and make sure something bad didn't happen? Can you anything in particular stand out?
Sure. Well, at first, as a philosophy, most people want to be around people who see them as valuable, right? I call it a green button friend these days, because we all have a cell phone. When somebody calls, you got a red button or a green button, and most of us hit the red button all the time because we're just busy, or we don't want to talk, or it's just not the right time. And I have some friends. I have a friend, Cervantes Edwards, who's a green button friend. No matter what I'm doing, if he called me right now, I wouldn't, because we're here. But if at all possible, if I can answer the phone when he calls, I hit that green button, because he has an incredible way. We've been friends for 25 years. He's got an incredible way of making me feel valued and important, no matter what's going on. And so it immediately lets down some of my defenses. This is not about false likability. I actually think like wanting to be liked is one of the kisses of death of most salespeople, because it prevents you from telling the truth. But you tell the truth with love, and people are magnetized to the truth, right? So basically what I learned is, by helping build people up, but being truthful with them, they are both recognized, they understand it, they get it, they feel it, because we're all magnetized to the truth, whether we like it or not. And they see that, you have some favor for them. And people don't like to be, false flattery, but they do like some true, genuine connection. And so it's not running around saying, "Hey man, what can I do for you? Hey, how can I be your friend? Can I be your friend?" It's paying attention to your surroundings first and foremost. I'm probably one of the most aware and alert people you'll ever meet, because I've always counted everything in the room before I step into it, just because I need to be safe, know where the exit is, know who's the person I need to fear the most, who's the person I need to make an ally. I'm thinking all of that stuff, and most of it doesn't ever have to get deployed. My wife says I know a lot of things about everything you never wanted to know, but I'm prepared always. And that has lent itself over to the sales game as well. Like, how well can you stay prepared and fully aware and known inside your ideal client's environment, so that when they need something, it doesn't mean you shove stuff in their face all the time, but it means you know how to keep yourself positioned in proximity to the people who need you most, or will be more aligned to be in step with you. And so, in a jail environment, it's very much always like there's lines, there's allies. A lot of times it's either you're with me or against me, and you have to learn that who are the people that you need to stand clear with in principle. It doesn't mean you got to be their friend, but they need to know that you're not their enemy, right? They're like, they need to understand that if they need you to do something, that you won't be in the way if you're not going to do it. So it's making sure where you stand is very, very clear. But if you're standing with somebody, that means you're standing potentially against somebody else. So I spent a lot of time making sure, not being Switzerland where I didn't have any interest in either side, but being crystal clear that I could be an ally to you if you need it, because I understand you and I know what you're doing, right? Whether that's on the street, whether that's in a potential violent situation, or whether that's just with your family and friends, right? I used to spend all my time at school running through scenarios in my mind. If I come home and my mom said this and I responded wrongly, and she said that, how would I respond? I would play out 15 steps of a scenario.
Wow.
That may never happen, but when it did, I was totally ready for it. And not to react when she said stuff. I remember when I was 10 years old, I was about to get in trouble, and my mom loved to do those, go in your room and think about it for a while. And I'd be in there for hours before she'd come in and whoop me. And she came in one time and I got the biggest whooping of my life. But I told myself while I was in the room that I wasn't going to let her see me cry. And she got so angry about that it broke down the biggest whooping because she didn't get the response from me that she was hoping for.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed her. We from that point on, we had a very different relationship.
Wow.
But I had to show her where my boundaries were, and that this isn't going to keep happening. That I know where I'm going and I know what I need, and if you can help me get there, great. But if not, I can't do this. And then over the next couple of years, it was a series of getting further and further out, and then in foster care.
Okay.
But
And when you said jail at 19, so presumably things started to turn around for you in your 20s. Was there a particular person or persons that helped kind of guide you back on your feet and got you your first kind of real job?
yeah, well, really, the biggest. I mean, the first 25 years of my life was me being an anger-filled, searching man who was broken,
Mm-hmm.
and fights, drugs, doing whatever I needed to do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then that second to last 25 has been about me understanding that all that stuff has not helped me at all. It has served me poorly. I've hurt a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
physically, mentally, and otherwise. And when I met my wife, that was the first person that really helped me understand that love was an actual thing that you could pursue and it was
Yeah.
safe. Because
Mm-hmm.
when that moment when I was 10, I literally turned off pain. I said, I'm not going to let my mom hurt me. But the problem is when you turn off pain, like the other side of that is love, right? So I spent 20 years of my life with no feelings. I was
Amazing.
fully disconnected. I was just reading the room all the time. And it was all about how do I survive? If I was going to make sure I win, even if it meant you lose, I had to come out on top,
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So
and
what was that's incredible. So what was your first, job then? And was it in sales? Is that when you realized actually that I have a talent for sales? This can actually earn me a good living here?
well, I didn't actually realize it and recognize it until more like these last 10 years or so when I start looking back on it. Again, it was
Oh,
just
okay.
survival mechanisms. But, I had paper routes. I always had the ability to organize. I would got kids in the neighborhood. We would do aluminum can acquisitions and line them up by the thousands and crush them all and take them down to the local Safeway
Great.
and redeem them. I used to go to 7-Eleven and buy candy bars when they were a quarter, take them to school and sell them for $1. I used to get when I was my biggest probably moment at the younger age was we had those Scholastic School magazines sales,
Mm-hmm.
and if you win, you got to put a pie in the face of your teacher of choice, and I wanted to win, so I rounded up all my buddies. All of their sales went on mine, and I won, and I got to put a pie in Mr. Henry's face in 5th grade. So that's always been a pattern for me, and so it was
Uh-huh.
always just an easy thing to do. And really, when I first got I got my college education was accounting. I started doing accounting work right out of college. Hated every
Okay.
minute of it, and I had a whole bunch of tax and child support issues and problems. So the government was taking half my paycheck, and I was like, I can't
Right.
live on this.
Mm-hmm.
I was making $3,364 a month. I just needed to make 66 so I could give them 33 and live on my 33.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out and I started knocking on doors to sell alarms and recognized that there was a whole ramp up opportunity. I could get a team full of people knocking on doors and I could be closing in living rooms. And
Yeah.
next thing I knew, I had my own office and then my own dealership. And I was, running door knocking, canvassing teams with ADT sales, which then rolled into mortgage company, which was a whole nother story. But I had a mortgage company where I basically, filled a room with a bunch of loan officers. We were crushing it in subprimes. We were part of the reason the subprime market was so bad because we put a lot of people in loans they never should have been in and all of that. But
Right.
and then when things started getting bad in 2008, people weren't buying loans, but they were buying my cash flow coaching program because I got tired of people coming to me for refis and burning all their money to go buy a boat. And so I said, if you're going to work with me, then you're going to go through my cash management program so that we can help you buy a second home instead of wasting all your money on an RV and a boat and whatever the hell else you were going to bankroll your house for.
That's
So I
fantastic.
started teaching people how to save money and then how to sell what they were doing because most people needed to know how to sell. They didn't need a loan because most people couldn't get one at that time.
Uh-huh. That's great. That's some proper entrepreneurial skills there, going from the alarms to the mortgages to the coaching. That's pretty cool. That's pretty impressive. And I think some people have a very narrow view of what sales is, Jim, that it only applies to certain people or certain departments in their business, and that it doesn't really
Yes,
apply to personal relationships. But you and I know that it does. I mean, what's
very
your
much.
philosophy when it comes to sales, and how you apply it to your life, not just to your coaching?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because that is my life, right? I used to be a different guy in every area of my life. I was one way to my
Mm.
kids, one way to my wife, one way to my clients, and I didn't know who the hell I was most of the time.
Yeah.
And once I started, and at that point, sales was transactional to me. I knew that I could get somebody to a point to get
Hmm.
what I needed, and then hopefully help them too. But
Hmm.
after my whole mortgage experience and really ruining people's lives, was a very humbling environment when I came face to face with a client who I had put her aging mother into a loan that cost her home to flip, and she was living in her car. And I had to take stock of who I was and say, I have all of these skills, all of these learnings that I've come as a person. And
Hmm.
how do I take all of that, throw out all the sales process that hurts people or doesn't make me feel good,
Hmm.
and leave in the stuff that serves people and makes me feel valued? And the amazing result has been the last 12 years of, what we call our income infusion training process. But it's really all about serving people first.
Hmm.
100%, no matter what they are, who they are, where they are. I can spend any length of time, give me 20 minutes or 2 hours with anybody, doesn't matter what you're selling, how big, how much, or how what's the volume or frequency. I can add value to who you are. And sales is what we do every day in our life. It's not just what you sell as a product. It's, if you're married, you sold your wife or a husband on why they should marry you. You sell your kids on why they should eat their vegetables. You sell your friends on why they should
Yes.
go to Indian instead of Chinese. We do it all day, every day. The problem is, in our life, we do it really easy. And then when we get into a sales environment, we think it has to be a certain process. And we start following some sort of process that takes us out of being who we are supposed to be. And then it's not natural. And then we wonder why people don't buy.
Hmm.
Right? You just got to be that version of yourself. I used to coach. I played baseball in college, and I coached little league. And one of the funkiest things that always happens when you coach kids in little league is,
Okay.
if you reach across your body right now, the natural movement is a backhand. That's what your body automatically does. But you put a glove on a 5-year-old, and he goes like this. He thinks he's supposed to do it this way, and no matter what. But you take the glove off, and he does this, right? And I see that happen with salespeople all the time. They do this all day, awesomely, and then the moment they get into a sales conversation, they start doing this, and
Yeah.
then it doesn't work.
Tightening up.
Yeah.
No, it does. It's true. I mean, so what do you have any actionable tips for our listeners that want to improve their sales skills, or how they can make people feel comfortable to do business with them? Any kind of nice little tips, or certain
Yeah, for
questions they
sure, for
should ask?
sure. When it doesn't matter what market you're selling or selling to or serving,
Hmm.
is, if you need to play mind tricks with it, do so. If you need to commit yourself to selling a service and things like that, great, do it, because that's what it is. It's a noble profession. Nothing happens in business or life without a sale being made, so own that. But you have to get really clear. I mean, we can talk about tactics, but tactics, you can Google them; they're everywhere. From a perspective of movement, you want to be thinking about, how well do you actually know the journey that your client is on, and do you know what's at stake for them? Because if you do, then you can speak to the things that matter to them instead of talking to them about your product and your process. And the more clearly aligned you are with them, their problem, and their journey, the more likely they're going to see you as the expert who can help them solve it. I can't tell you how many times I just start talking to people about what they're trying to do. What do they want to see? Where do they want to go? Why does it matter? Right? We have a park bench approach to the sales conversation. It's simple. What do they want? Why do they want it? What's in the way of them getting it? What are they willing to give up to get it? And when do they want to start? Right? If you can have that dialogue, you should be able to sit down on a park bench with a random stranger and in 30 minutes know all of those things. You don't have to know what you're selling, because it doesn't matter. Because you may not be if you show up to sell your stuff, you're not going to actually find those things honestly. If you show up to serve them, you'll find out what they need, and then maybe they need what you have. And I don't sell that. But because I've been clear about what that is, I can pick up the phone and I can say, hey, Colin, I got somebody who needs to talk to you, right? Because I've figured those things out. So, but it comes from you being able to speak the unapologetic truth all the time. And that means Tell them the one thing that you know that most people probably don't, and that most people in their lives won't tell them. We think about this. How many people in your life tell you the truth all the time?
Yeah,
I
very
can't think
few.
of, I can't
Yeah.
think of any.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is the most honest person I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have great kids. They will shade corners because they want to save my feelings or because they are unsure, right? Everybody has that in all of their life. They need somebody to be able to say, no, what you're doing isn't going to work. What you're doing is going to take you here. And I have to be honest enough to tell you that that is a risk. But if you're going to go here, here's the payoff. Here's the price you're going to pay for that payoff, meaning time, effort, energy. Maybe you're not going to have family vacation this year, or maybe you're going to sacrifice this. But because you do, here's the back end, right? They
Mm-hmm.
need to hear what's really going on. Tell the unapologetic truth and be crystal clear. Don't try to sell everything you do in your arsenal. Be really clear that of the 1 inch mile that you're the expert of, right? One
Yeah.
inch wide, mile deep. Because the more you do, especially in today's crowded marketplace, because you're not just competing with other real estate individuals, other investors, you're competing
Mm-hmm.
with Netflix, you're competing with Amazon, you're competing with TikTok, you're competing for eyeballs and attention. And when you can speak clearly and powerfully to the lane that you own, that 1 inch mile that you are the expert of, then you own it, you define it, you determine everything in it. And people, when they're in it, they're like this, there's times where they're going to be like, I don't even know exactly what he said. I love the way he said it, and he's speaking right to me,
Yeah.
right?
So how do people, and that's wonderful advice. So how do people figure out what that 1 inch, spectrum of their expertise is? Because it's not always self-evident. If somebody's been dabbling
Absolutely.
in real estate, they've been doing a bit of wholesaling, a bit of flipping, a bit of renting, they've been doing Facebook, they've been doing direct mail, and they're wondering, what am I the expert in? What should I be doubling down and 10xing, and what should I be ignoring? What kind of mental exercises do you need to go through to figure that out?
That's a fantastic question because most people get it still wide and not deep enough. Most people are very, very surface level. I know
Mm-hmm.
sales, I know sales teams, I know how to recruit people, I know how to build teams, or I know how to fix and flip homes, right? And I know how to solve people's problems. But you got to start thinking about. We actually have an exercise called the 1 inch mile exercise, and the main perspective on it is you take everything you know about the person you serve, the market you serve, everything you know about the problem, everything you know about the solution, and you throw it all into a bucket. But this requires you to go deep. It's like, I know that the people I serve struggle because they don't make all the sales that they want. I know that that's a condition of a marketplace that's confusing and challenging. I know that you have something that is the world needs and it has value, and people deserve you deserve to have people pay for it, right? I know that your struggles and your fears come up because you're trying to present yourself as confident and strong, but deep inside you already know you're a fraud because you're not making the money that you need. I can speak to this stuff for hours about the
Mm-hmm.
people that I serve. And so when I talk to them, I don't have to use market speak. I'm literally talking straight to them about who they are. And the more you can do that, you start refining it, you can start defining who exactly is the person. And it doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
that's the only person you serve, but that has to become your messaging to the marketplace. From the moment they say hello in your world, whether it's they see you talk, they see an ad, they see a flyer, that's hello. And every touch point along the way needs to reinforce and confirm that you're the expert of their problem and that you're a trusted advisor who can lead them to a solution,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, but it's not by marketing jargon, it's not by catchphrases and slogans. If you wonder why
Yeah.
people aren't responding to what you're doing, it's because you're trying to be a marketer instead of just speaking to your people the way that they need to hear you speak,
Yeah, and
right?
again, and I know the best wholesalers or the best guys that get those deals from the kind of proverbial nice old lady that wants to downsize and she has a huge amount of people that would be willing to buy their house. I guess you're right. It's the people that have taken the time to get to know the lady, to get to know her motivations, to get to know why she wants to sell and when she wants to sell and how she wants to sell and what her background is. The people that link with her are the ones that are going to get the sale, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we get a lot of our clients come to us, and one of their challenges is that they're frustrated because they feel like they have to compromise. They really want to sell here. Their work matters, but they're having to shade it and cover it in a different way so that people can understand it. It's like, no, your offer just isn't clean and clear because you're not letting people know this is how you solve their problem. And just speak to their pain, and they will be clear about it. It's not about grinding pain; it's about identifying it. You have to be able to speak to the pain. You have to be able to speak to an aspirational future. And this is something to think about, guys, as you're planning for conversations. If you want to attract people who are wanting the highest version of you, you can't speak to the brokest version of them. Like in sales, we don't say, if you need to make more money, if you need to close more sales, because the only people who think that way are broke people,
Yeah.
right? I need to make more sales. I need more money. I want to make more sales and I want to make more money, but I literally never say those words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to speak to what do they actually want, right? I have something of worth. A phrase we use often is that your work matters. Your work matters, and you're not putting enough of it out into the world because people aren't finding you. You can't solve their problem if they can't buy from you, right? That speaks to somebody who absolutely knows they're worth more. They want more. They just need a better path to making it happen. And those people will run up the mountain with you versus somebody who's afraid and cowering and have circled the wagons for fear of losing everything.
I love it. It's
Right.
that old Dale Carnegie one of give people a reputation to live up to, right?
Amen. Totally.
I love it. I love it. So tell me, what kinds of clients do you have now? What types of people or businesses do you help? Is it a wide variety?
It is. So in our sales training space, I don't even like calling it sales training because it's not a modular driven environment. We do live training calls almost every day, a few days a
Uh-huh.
week on average. And it's no matter what you're selling, you're in a process. You're in a discussion, a discovery, a negotiation process. And the hardest thing to fix is yourself. So when you come in, we have people, it's me and my team and my coaches, and we are literally just speaking into people every single day. Here's what you said. Maybe you should have said this. Here's what you were thinking. Here's how it went. Here's how you were positioned. Right. So it's just on the court coaching. So we help people who, we have people who are filmmakers all the way to coaches and real estate or financial professionals, et cetera. It's anybody who has to make the transaction happen in order to convert somebody. We just don't get too much into selling products, technology, and widgets, mostly service-based stuff. But in the lane that we're really moving to all the time is, we've done over 100 events in the last couple of years for clients. And
Mhm.
so it doesn't matter what you sell. I have not found any use case where a live event is not optimal. Whoever you are selling to, nothing sells like live, first of all, and that could be online like this or in
Yep.
person.
Hmm.
And nothing sells like community, right? You need to
True.
make sure people have access to expertise, accountability, and community. If you can put all of that in one environment, you're going to have a powerful outcome. So if you want
Hmm.
to put a room full of investors, a room full of collaborators, a room full of buyers, that doesn't matter what it is. You having live events are powerful, and that's where we spend our time. So it's not necessarily a who, it's more of a when. And we're looking for people who are ready. They're maxed out on the one-on-one side. They're tired of dealing with people one-on-one. They need to have more exponential growth. They want to be able to
Hmm.
have one swipe at the apple and get 100 bites, right?
Got
And
it.
so
I love it.
that's where we serve people powerfully.
So COVID must have been quite an adjustment for you to make. If a big focus of your business was helping people to stage live events to 10x their sales, what kinds of pivots have you had to make during the last year? Must have been pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, that was huge. Obviously, the live event space kind of dried up, and
Yeah.
I remember being in a hotel in San Diego on the last event that we did in March, and we were walking out of the hotel on Sunday. The hotel was shutting their doors right
Wow.
behind us. We were the last people in it, and they had all of their employees in a meeting. They were teaching them how to go get unemployment. So
Oh.
that was our last view of a live event in last March. Um, but yeah, so we had to find other ways, and fortunately, we already do a lot of online work, and it was this matter of how do we
Oh, good.
pivot and adjust the offline environment to the offline space. And we made a lot of adjustments, but it has
Hmm.
been an incredible pivot and wildly profitable. We doubled our revenue in 2020 because there were so
Amazing.
many people that we could help, and
Amazing.
it's powerful. And now it's great because we're mastering the online event, and when offline events come back, we'll have both.
Okay, perfect. And that's impressive that you're able to increase revenue at like an event-based company. That's very cool. And thank you to Zoom and all these amazing tools that we have now. And if this
Amen.
happened 10 years ago, we'd have all been in a lot more trouble because we wouldn't have had the
For
tools
sure.
to do it. So this has been a fantastic conversation, Jim. I really enjoy it and really enjoy your outlook on sales. Do you have any final thoughts on how people can adjust their mindsets to kind of improve their business or their personal lives?
Yeah, I know everybody probably wants some more hard hitting step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I said, you can Google that stuff anywhere, and those steps aren't going to make the difference if you're not showing up as the person who needs to lead them there. So I just want to encourage you to really dig deep. We actually have an opt-in. I'm going to give you a resource. It's a $17 resource, but I'm going to give it to you for free, and it's a 10 moves to make more sales without getting better at selling. And the key is that you have to understand, no matter how big you are, I don't care how many deals you've made, I don't care what size deals you've made, that you have to get really in alignment with the people that you're serving and be able to speak their language and be able to be that truth teller, that can hold them accountable to seeing what's possible and then taking actions towards them while they know that you're the person who can navigate the process for them and eliminate the pain and speed up the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you can communicate that effectively all the time, you don't have to worry about market speak. I'm going to don't buy into the latest, greatest funnel, this and the optimal that and webinar series. All that stuff's great. Doesn't matter if you're not speaking right to the core of the people that you serve.
Yeah, that's it. It's fix your own head first, and the way you approach problems is it's not like you're right. Buying a $50 funnel isn't the solution. You need to improve the way you're thinking and presenting and trying to put
Completely.
yourself in other people's shoes. I mean, that's
You
great.
know, the thing that you'll learn too is that instead of you having to hunt for people, people show up, and that's been our reality. We have at this moment about 10% of our revenue comes from marketing. All the rest comes from speaking here, being invited to speak, be sharing with people, speaking because I understand the pain and the challenge of what people are dealing with, and people just show up and we give great results. So between delivering a result, speaking clearly to who you serve and how other people share that message because they're getting great results and they understand what we do. So they start sharing, and we make millions from people who are put on our calendars because somebody else put them there. And if that's not your reality, then you need to be working towards that, because it's a hell of a way to live a life. I don't care how good you are, if you have to be out there hustling the dog and pony show in order to get your next client, even if they're $1 million client, then you're still working too hard.
Yeah, I love that attitude of getting people to come to you. I heard some good analogy years back. Someone told me instead of walking through the jungle trying to find the elephants and hunt them, just build a lake and just wait for them to come to the lake.
Right. Yeah. The right lake, and then make sure it's built in the right place with the right kind of water, and they'll all show up. Right. And then on that, one of the best things I ever heard from Naveen Jain, we were having a lunch meal. He's a billionaire who was in Clinton's cabinet, and he's now invested in so many things, putting rockets into space, et cetera. And we were talking about, you have to get people, you have to drink, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And he said, no, you're thinking it all wrong. You don't need to lead them to the water. You just need to make them thirsty, and they will move heaven and earth to find the water. So you just need to specialize in making the people you serve really thirsty. And then they'll be like, where's the water? Help me, please. Right. And that's a reality that we've been blessed to be able to experience. And I encourage you guys, just spend whatever time you need to make that work, because that will move the needle for you more than anything else that I can think of.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice, Jim. I love it. So how can people get in touch with you? You mentioned a resource people can download for free. Do you want to give us some of your contact info or a website people can learn more about you?
Yeah, it's actually, it'll be in the notes. I don't have the actual link on me, but it'll be in the show notes there.
Perfect.
And it's our 10 moves to make more sales without getting better at selling. Download it, check them out. It's a 10 moves. Each of them is a 2-minute video. You can consume this thing in a half hour or one a day, whatever you want. But I highly suggest you dive into those, because any single one of those moves is a game changer. If you put them all together, you'll have the best system on the planet. Here's the differentiator for that. Most people are trying to master becoming a sales expert, and almost none of you ever will be. So why? That'd be like me mastering trying to dunk a basketball. I might figure out how to do it. I'm a 5'8" Puerto Rican from the Bronx. I ain't dunking basketballs, right? Mm-hmm. No matter how, even if I know all the technique, because I'm doing other things too. What you want to do is spend all that time structuring your world in such a way that people show up ready to buy. That's a much better game to play, one that everybody can play no matter how tall you are, and you can always win. So
I love it. This has been some eye-opening stuff, Jim. I really appreciate your insights, really appreciate you sharing your story. I look forward to putting that information on the show notes, and would certainly encourage everybody to to do that exercise. Thank you very much, and best of luck with your training courses today.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. There you go, folks. That was Jim Padilla from gaintheedgenow.com. Check out that website. Check out the show notes for additional information. What an impressive guy he is. What a horrendous childhood he had. And, you know, you got to take your hat off to the guy about how he came through all of that. And, you know, has a great wife, great kids, great business, helps lots of other businesses. I mean, I think it's a minor miracle. And, you know, the wisdom he achieved and the insights he achieved through all those hardships has in some way made him the sales expert and you know, the business expert that he is. And that's just fantastic, because 99 times out of 100 it would have gone a completely different way, and he would have had a very different life. So I'm delighted that he is where he is now, and I was happy to share time with him and invite him on the show, and I hope you enjoyed those insights. I certainly did. So, you know, what else is going on with me? I am still busy with multiple flips at the minute. I am still very, very close to launching my land flipping business. By the time this show comes out in late March, it will no doubt be up and running. And yeah, very excited on multiple fronts at the moment. The market is just booming, isn't it, guys? It's just incredible how fast the market is moving, how quickly real estate is appreciating, how much demand there is out there for any kind of property in any condition, whether it's like, could be full of junkies, it could be old lady nice, it could be crisp and clean, could be staged, could be $100,000, $500,000, $800,000. There's just demand for everything right now. And if you can get your hands on something, go do it, because interest rates are incredibly low for buy and hold, and you should be able to sell it at a good profit if you know what you're doing and you're flipping it. But it's not going to last. Next year, I'm pretty sure, is going to be quite different, but it's only February, so I think there's a good bit of runway left. So get going if you're in real estate. I think it's a good time to accelerate a little bit more. And if you want to chat about anything, feel free to reach out to me, colininvestments.com, COLIN investments.com. Lots of reports in there. I put a new report in recently. And, you know, obviously podcasts and videos. And you can schedule a call with me directly from the website, or you can send me an email, just info@colininvestments.com. And I appreciate you listening as always. And I will be back very soon for show number 42. But this is a sunny Friday afternoon in Florida, and I am out of here, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.